South Africa is a country located in the southernmost part of Africa, with a long coastline along the South Atlantic and Indian Oceans. It's known for its diverse population, with a majority of black South Africans, as well as significant communities of European, Asian, and multiracial ancestry. The country has a rich history and culture, with 11 official languages and a diverse array of religions. It's also known for being a middle power in international affairs and for its efforts to overcome the legacy of apartheid. So, all in all, there's a lot to learn and discover about South Africa. South Africa got its name from its location at the southern tip of Africa. The country was originally named Union of South Africa in English and Unie van Zuid-Afrika in Dutch, reflecting its origin from the unification of 4 British colonies. The country's official name in English has been Republic of South Africa since 1961 and Republiek van Zuid-Afrika in Afrikaans since 1994. South Africa has a rich history and prehistory. It is considered a biodiversity hotspot and contains some of the oldest archaeological and human fossil sites in the world. It has been called the cradle of humankind due to the rich hominin fossil remains found in the Sterkfontein caves. South Africa's history also includes the Bantu expansion, where Bantu-speaking peoples migrated from the north of the Limpopo River and displaced, conquered, and absorbed the original Khoisan, Khoikhoi and San peoples. Additionally, the country has a history of Portuguese exploration, with Bartolomeu Dias being the first European to land in southern Africa in 1487. South Africa has a rich history of European colonization, beginning with the arrival of the Dutch in the early 17th century. The Dutch East India Company established a victualling station at the Cape of Good Hope, which would later become Cape Town. Over time, the Cape became home to a large population of Vrijleden, or free citizens, who were former company employees who stayed in Dutch territories overseas after serving their contracts. The Dutch also brought thousands of enslaved people to the colony from Indonesia, Madagascar, and parts of Eastern Africa. This led to the development of a new ethnic group, the Cape Coloureds, most of whom adopted the Dutch language and Christian faith. The Dutch's eastward expansion of the colony brought them into conflict with the Xhosa tribe, leading to a series of wars known as the Xhosa Wars. The Dutch settlers, known as Boers, formed loose militias and forged alliances with Khoisan peoples to repel Xhosa raids. The British also played a role in the colonization of South Africa, occupying Cape Town between 1795 and 1803, and later formally ceding it to Great Britain, and becoming an integral part of the British Empire. British emigration to South Africa increased in the early 19th century. Additionally, the arrival of the British and Dutch settlers led to the displacement of the indigenous peoples, and the rise of powerful African empires such as the Zulu and Matabele, which created larger empires that included large parts of the Highveld. This eventually led to the Great Trek, in which many Dutch settlers left the Cape Colony, where they had been subjected to British control, in a series of migrations. South Africa is a country located at the southernmost tip of Africa, and it has a diverse population with many different cultures, languages, and religions. It has a long history, dating back to prehistoric times, and the country has been inhabited by various human species for millions of years. South Africa was colonized by the Dutch and the British, and it was officially named the Union of South Africa in 1910. The country faced many challenges, including wars between the Dutch settlers and the local tribes, and later on, between the British and the Dutch settlers. In 1948, the National Party was elected to power and they implemented the system of apartheid, which institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination against the black majority for decades. Despite these challenges, South Africa has a rich culture and history, and it is home to many UNESCO World Heritage Sites. South Africa has a complex history, starting with prehistoric human fossils found in the country, and the arrival of Bantu-speaking peoples who displaced the original Khoisan, Khoikhoi and San peoples. The Portuguese arrived in the 15th century, and established a victualling station at the Cape of Good Hope, which was later taken over by the Dutch and then the British. The Boer Wars between the British and the Boer republics resulted in the defeat of the Boers and the establishment of the Union of South Africa in 1910. The country became a republic in 1961 and implemented the system of apartheid, which institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination against the black majority. The apartheid government faced opposition both within and outside the country and international sanctions. In 1990, the government began dismantling discrimination and entered into negotiations with the anti-apartheid movement, leading to the country's first universal elections in 1994, which the ANC won and has been in power since. South Africa is located in southernmost Africa, and has a coastline that stretches over 2,500 kilometers along the South Atlantic and Indian Oceans. The country is the 24th largest in the world and is primarily made up of a large, mostly flat plateau that rises to over 2,100 meters in the east. This plateau is surrounded by the Great Escarpment, which includes the Drakensberg, the highest portion of the escarpment. The interior of the country includes the Great Karoo, which is a sparsely populated shrubland, and the Highveld, which is home to a large portion of the country's commercial farmlands. The coastal belt includes the Limpopo Lowveld, Mpumalanga Lowveld, and the Kruger National Park. The country also has several ranges of Cape Fold Mountains that run parallel to the coast, separating the Great Escarpment from the ocean, including the Outeniqua and Langeberg Ranges and the Swartberg Range. South Africa has a generally temperate climate due to its location on the southern hemisphere and its proximity to the ocean. The country has a wide range of climatic zones, from the desert in the northwest to the subtropical climate in the east. The western coast has a Mediterranean climate with wet winters and hot summers, while the eastern coast is more subtropical with evenly distributed rainfall throughout the year. The interior of the country is mostly dry with hot summers and cold winters. Climate change in South Africa is leading to increased temperatures and changes in rainfall patterns, and it is a critical concern for the country as it affects water resources and other areas. South Africa is also a significant contributor to carbon emissions. South Africa is a country that is rich in biodiversity. It is considered one of the world's 17 megadiverse countries and is home to many unique species of plants and animals. The country has a diverse range of climatic zones and ecosystems, from the desert of the Namib to the lush subtropical climate in the east. The country is known for its grassland, particularly on the Highveld, and its fynbos biome, which is located in the Western Cape and contains more than 9,000 species of plants, making it one of the richest regions on Earth in terms of plant diversity. Unfortunately, only 1% of the land is forest, mostly found in the humid coastal plain of KwaZulu-Natal and some small reserves of montane forests. The country is taking steps to protect its biodiversity through its National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan, and promoting ecotourism as a way to maintain and improve biodiversity. South Africa is a diverse nation with a population of around 60 million people, with a mix of different origins, cultures, languages, and religions. The last census was held in 2011, with estimates produced on an annual basis. The country is also home to an estimated 5 million illegal immigrants, including around 3 million Zimbabweans. South Africa has a diverse population, with the 2011 census figures showing the racial groups as Black African at 79.2%, White at 8.9%, Colored at 8.9%, Indian or Asian at 2.5%, and other/unspecified at 0.5%. The country also hosts a sizable refugee and asylum seeker population. Climate change is expected to bring considerable warming and drying to much of this already semi-arid region, with greater frequency and intensity of extreme weather events such as heat waves, flooding, and drought. South Africa has 11 official languages: Zulu, Xhosa, Afrikaans, English, Pedi, Tswana, Southern Sotho, Songa, Swazi, Venda, and Southern Ndebele. English is the fourth most common home language, spoken by 9.6% of South Africans in 2011, but it is becoming the de facto lingua franca of the nation. The country also recognizes several unofficial languages, including Fanagalo, Ko, Lubelu, Nama, Northern Ndebele, Footy, and South African Sign Language. Religion-wise, the majority of the population is Protestant, followed by Catholics and Muslims. The country also has a significant population of African-initiated churches, traditional healers, and syncretic religious practices. South Africa has a diverse population of around 60 million people with different origins, cultures, languages, and religions. The education system has a three-tier system starting with primary school, followed by high school, and tertiary education in the form of universities and universities of technology. The healthcare system is a mix of public and private, with 84% of the population depending on the public healthcare system, which is underfunded and facing a shortage of human resources. South Africa is a parliamentary republic with a multi-tier system of government. The president, who is both head of state and head of government, is elected by the National Assembly for a term of 5 years, and the cabinet is appointed by the president. The National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces make up the two houses of parliament. The country has no officially defined capital city, but Cape Town is the legislative capital, Pretoria is the administrative capital, and Bloemfontein is the judicial capital. The country has a diverse population with 11 official languages and a variety of religious beliefs. South Africa has a mixed economy and is a member of the G20, BRICS, Union of South American Nations, G77, and the African Union. South Africa has a mixed economy, the third largest in Africa, after Nigeria and Egypt. However, despite its relatively high GDP per capita compared to other countries in sub-Saharan Africa, South Africa still has a high rate of poverty and unemployment and is ranked in the top 10 countries in the world for income inequality. The country's economy is heavily dependent on mining, which is a major source of foreign exchange and employment. The country has abundant mineral resources, including gold, diamonds, chrome, manganese, platinum, and coal. The South African agricultural industry also contributes to the economy, but the aridity of the land limits its potential. The country has been facing challenges in recent years with job losses, particularly in the middle class, and increasing number of ultra-poor individuals. South Africa is a popular tourist destination, with the industry accounting for a significant portion of the country's GDP. The country offers a wide variety of options for both domestic and international tourists, including picturesque natural landscapes, diverse cultural heritage, and renowned wines. South Africa's infrastructure includes a large energy sector, with the country being the only one on the African continent with a nuclear power plant. The country also has a strong history in science and technology, with several important scientific and technological developments originating in South Africa, and several South African scientists winning Nobel Prizes. The government has also expressed an objective to transition the economy to be more reliant on high technology in order to compete with other countries. South Africa has a diverse culture that is influenced by its history, geography, and population. The country has a rich tradition of art, with some of the oldest art objects in the world found in South African caves. The country's art has evolved through the influence of different cultures, including the Khoisan, Bantu, Afrikaner, and European cultures. The media sector in South Africa is large, and the country is one of Africa's major media centers, with a diverse range of media outlets and publications. Popular culture in South Africa includes music, which is diverse and has unique styles such as Kwaito and Amapiano, and traditional dances such as Zulu dancing. The country also has a large informal minibus taxi industry, which is a major mode of transportation in the country. Despite this, South Africa faces some infrastructure challenges, such as energy crisis, water supply, and sanitation. South Africa has a diverse culture that is influenced by many different ethnic and historical backgrounds. The country has a rich literary tradition, with notable authors such as Alan Paton, Nadine Gordimer, and J.M. Coetzee. South African cuisine is also diverse, with meat-based dishes and braais, barbecues, being popular, as well as a growing wine industry. Sports are also an important part of South African culture, with football, rugby union, and cricket being the most popular. South Africa has also produced many world-class athletes in other sports such as boxing, surfing, and Formula One motor racing. The country also hosted the 2010 FIFA World Cup and has won the Rugby World Cup 3 times. The famous movie known as Woman King was acted in South Africa too. In conclusion, South Africa is a diverse and complex country with a rich history and culture. It has a mixed economy and is one of the most developed countries in Africa, with a large energy sector and a significant tourist industry. However, the country continues to face challenges such as poverty, unemployment, and income inequality. The country's infrastructure includes roads, railways, airports, and pipelines for petroleum oil, but the majority of people in South Africa use informal minibus taxis as their main mode of transport. The country also has a rich literary tradition, a diverse cuisine, and a strong sports culture, particularly in association football, rugby, and cricket. Despite its challenges, South Africa remains a vibrant and unique nation with a proud heritage and a bright future. Visit beautiful South Africa.